is intended to foster interactive dialogue among the delegations here to identify progress, challenges and proposals on the work of the OAS intended to build a future work agenda in the area of development. And what we are seeking to do by this process is to have contributions from ourselves. The 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda is the most ambitious development effort the world has ever launched. This agenda incorporates for the first time human, social and environmental dimensions in a holistic way. It does so through a new set of global sustainable development goals, a global plan of action to address climate change, and actions aimed at mobilizing the resources needed to finance this ambitious development effort. The Organization of American States, along with other multilateral organizations and development banks, have committed themselves to exploring how best to contribute individually and collectively to making this ambitious agenda a reality. It is important that the inter-American system, of which the OAS is a part, be at the forefront of this effort. Although our region is heterogeneous, the basic foundations for working on the Sustainable Development Goals exist or are being built. Most countries in the region are middle-income countries with sufficient levels of development and knowledge to understand, for example, the importance of robust public financial management systems for service delivery, the importance of accumulating reserves and controlling inflation to achieve macroeconomic stability, or the way the investment climate affects private sector activity and provision of infrastructure. Therefore, what our countries need to achieve the SDGs are advanced, innovative and specific solutions, as well as alliances to mobilize resources and execute them. These partnerships must build on the achievements to date and must contribute to resolving structural problems such as income inequality and gender, and to face emerging difficulties. For example, the resurgence of protectionist environments in advanced economies or the impact of climate change. What distinguishes our region from others is that our regional organizations and mechanisms are leading the development vision and agenda. In the case of the OAS, it is all of us. Member states who define the way forward, of course. At the IDB, for example, borrowers have the majority of the capital and the vote. The case of Agenda 2030 is no different, as was demonstrated in the Addis Ababa conference, where countries are the ones who run their own development agenda. We are, of course, the drivers, not the passengers of the car, so to speak. The agendas of the inter-American system must work with us to help us to translate the Sustainable Development Goals into real policies, programs and projects aligned with our national development plans, and mobilize together the partnerships and the public and private resources needed to finance them. At the same time, we must emphasize that the 2030 Agenda and its 17 goals face an unstable global economic and political environment on the threshold of an unprecedented environmental crisis. In addition, the financial gaps to be closed are immense. In infrastructure, for example, it is estimated that the region requires $120 to $150 billion annually. By comparison, the total IDB funding for the region is in 2016, about $10 billion. It is clear that the magnitude of the challenge is of another order. It is necessary to move from billions to trillions in development financing, as was said by the President of the IDB recently. Therefore, in order to fulfill the agenda, it is necessary to mobilize resources and participation of all the orders and levels of government, as well as civil society actors and regional and international organizations as a whole. In order to foster integral development and achieve hemispheric prosperity, inter-American agencies must increase their collaboration, leverage their comparative advantages, be creative and innovative, and adapt their products and services to help our countries meet these challenges. Based on its convening power and its positioning as an honest broker, the OAS can build partnerships with other international organizations. It can also support governments in designing and developing solid public policies by coordinating cooperation and harnessing the power of best practices and knowledge transfer. It is therefore, ladies and gentlemen, from this perspective of leverage, of comparative advantages and collaboration that I want to address the discussion of this panel on integral development and hemispheric prosperity. But before I do so, and before I present the high-level panel that will start the discussions going, I just want to reiterate that unfortunately, due to time constraints occasioned by the extension of time that we needed to conclude the first section of today's work, we have some time constraints, as I said. It is expected that we will try to complete this, not sacrificing quality, but recognizing that we have another panel in about 2 hours, and therefore I ask all participants to be aware of that. And as I said before I introduce the panel, I want to ask that the representative of the Secretary General present the statement of the Secretary General, and I invite Mr. Luis Porto to share with you the Secretary General's statement.